Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live here in Edinburgh, in Scotland, Jonny Lipsham Studios. Hope everybody is doing well and has had a great week. Been a busy one for me, but a good one, and I've just come back literally about an hour ago from being over at my parents' for the weekend, which is great, over in Fife, and as it probably turns out, that might be the last time that we can go there for a little while because it looks like parts of Scotland, if not the whole of Scotland, are going to go back into lockdown. Yay! Looks like it's going to happen. Glasgow is probably going to, I think it's pretty inevitable that Glasgow is going to do it. And it looks like Edinburgh is going to do it maybe in the next week or two, if not sooner, which will be a right pain in the butt because, well, my kids will have kind of been back at school for a matter of 2 weeks, and then they'll be back home again for who knows how long, after being off for 6 months. So it's very disruptive for them, but, you know, it is what it is, and we need to kind of get this thing under control, and, kind of a second wave was kind of inevitable. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but suffice to say that, 100 years ago, way back in 1918, when the Spanish flu, don't know why they call it Spanish flu, because it had nothing to do with Spain, and it wasn't even flu. When that went around, there wasn't nearly so much in the way of public travel like there is now. Like, you couldn't exactly just, hop on a plane and fly to America or fly to Australia or India or Japan or anywhere like that. You couldn't do that 100 years ago. So the virus was fairly contained in terms of global infection. But it was a pretty serious pandemic, and a lot of people died. But there were there were several waves of it. The first one was probably the most deadly, and a lot of people died. The second wave was a lot more infectious. A lot more people became infected with the virus, but fewer people died compared to the first wave. And then successive waves after that became less infectious and less deadly as it went on, until eventually it became benign. And this particular virus was indeed a coronavirus and is still kind of going around the world to this day. It still does its thing around the world and people still catch it. But the thing is, it doesn't do anybody any harm anymore. It's mutated into a very, very weak form of its smacking the mic. Of its former self. And pretty much that's what will happen with COVID-19. It will eventually dissipate into a benign form of itself. And we just have to wait it out, frankly. It is what it is. It's going to cost a lot in terms of deaths and in terms of some people becoming, though they recover, they will probably likely have permanent damage to their lungs, maybe even to their cardiovascular system. So there's going to be a lot of people that will live with this for the rest of their lives. And there's going to be a lot of families, obviously, that are going to live with this for the rest of their lives because, their loved ones have died of this horrible thing. So, yeah, that's the cost. That's the greatest cost, really. Businesses, it's sad when a business ends up going bust because of something like this, or the economy tanks because of something like this. But for me, the greatest cost is what it does to people and to families and to communities. That, for me, is the biggest thing, rather than how much it costs economically. Economies can recover. Businesses may recover. They may not. But certainly economies can. And, the world will get through this. However, the costs to people's lives and to families who have gone through this very, very personally. The cost for them is going to be something that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. You know, families left behind, that kind of thing. That's the biggest cost of this thing. And so, you know, it's really important that, you know, we do what is right to try and get this thing under control, and to not have people die if at all possible. So, I mean, that's my feeling on it. But anyway, it is what it is. And we are 8 minutes into the show, and we've got about 20 people here, which is not bad at all, considering I completely forgot to put out my ads for the show. But pretty much, you know, you guys know every Sunday I do this thing. So there is a degree to which I don't feel like I need to necessarily advertise it wonderfully well. But this week I definitely haven't. So let's go up to the top of the chat and see who was first in the door. And it was Thomas. Thomas Melkerson over in the Philippines. Hello, my friend. How are you? I hope you're doing well. And then just a few minutes after that, Dwayne came in. He says it's dinner time. And then my good friend, Photography Light Magic over in Glasgow, says, hope you're doing well. Think we're about to go into full lockdown again in Glasgow. It's not looking good. No, it most certainly isn't, my friend. Bob Studios is here, and he says, I'm early for once. Do I get a prize? This is your prize. There you go. Nice little fanfare. And we have a question. We have the first question of the evening, which is great. I love it when we get questions nice and early. So, let's see. It is Photography, Light and Magic with the question, and he says, when you are using loops and you find one you like, how do you find out its key? Melodyne? Then, how do you start to build a song around it? That's a great question. And I think we will actually do this to start with. We'll actually just go ahead straight and jump straight into a new song, and we will build something out of loops. And we will figure out what keys different loops are in, and we will transpose them as necessary to make them fit. Okay, that's what we'll do. All right, so where's my pointer? Pointer is over there. What's it doing over there? Doesn't need to be over there. All right, let's go over to Studio One. Okay, so we have a completely blank screen here. Nothing has been added to this song as yet, and I have the loops area of the browser open. First thing I want to do is get myself a nice drum loop. Don't want jazz. I probably just want something straight ahead. Let's see. Let's see what this one's like. Maybe something much straighter than that. Let's see what we can find. What's this like? Hey, I like that groove. We are having that. Now it's drums. We don't need to know what key it's in. That's cool. But what we're going to do is we're going to double this. So we will duplicate this. And we will set this up to a nice little 4-bar loop. Yeah, I like that. I just forgot to switch the loop on. There we go. Cool. Okay, now we need to find a nice little bass that's going to go with that. Let's see. Let's get out drums. And let's see what we can find. Let's see. Let's see if we can find. Oh, these are all drums. Okay, they're not going to be any good. Those are all drum loops. We don't want drum loops. Those are all going to be electronic. We don't want those. Let's go. Oh no, I just clicked on the same one. Let's try this one. Yeah, those are all kind of electronic dancey kind of things. We don't want those. Let's see. Let's go in here. Let's see what there is in here. Oh, those are kind of one shots. Don't want those. Studio music loops. Let's see what we can find here. Let's go and have a look in there. Oh gosh, there's nothing in there really. What's this? Nope. Definitely don't want that. All right, let's see what else we have. Loop. All right, now you notice here that actually a lot of these have the key kind of written into the sound here. You're not always going to get that. Sometimes you will get that, sometimes you won't. So these ones are kind of like A flat minor, that kind of thing. So that tends to be helpful. Let's see, what can we do here? A flat minor is a bit of an awkward key. We got any pianos here? Here we go, key C minor. This might do the job. Let's see what we got here. No, that's not really the right kind of style, is it? All right, let's close that out. Let's go to blues, see what we got here. Here we go. This might be a bit more like it. Let's have a look. Let's see what this is going to be like. Yeah, that's kind of a swingy kind of blues thing, which is not going to fit. Okay, let's go and find something over here. Those look like they're all drum loops. Yay. See what this is like. Okay. Don't really think that's going to fit our style for our little drum loop that we've got going on. So this might be a bit more of a challenge than I thought, has to be said. We got some other percussion loops and things there. Let's see what else we can find. Because I don't have tons and tons of loops, has to be said. Let's see, pop. I think these are all. Oh, there's some guitar stuff here. I want to find a bass. Pretty sure I found some funk bass grooves, funkier bass grooves. I just can't quite remember where they are. I don't think it's in MVP loops. I have to try and think where they are. These are all going to be drum loops, pretty much. For the most part. Yep, those are all drums. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? See, I thought they were in here. But they're not really. So I don't know. I'm trying to think where I found all of those loops. I can't remember where they are. Unfortunately. So yeah, so I've got a nice drum loop, but that's all I got so far. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to find something that's going to work here. Yeah, not that. See, I would have thought there'd be more in here. What's this? Yeah, that's just a drum loop. Don't want that. That's kind of not really what I'm after. See, I would have thought I would have found something in here, but not really. Okay, don't know what that's going to do. And those are drums. Those are all drums. Pop bass, what we got here? What's this? No, we've already tried that. We've already tried that, and there's nothing in there. And there's nothing really useful in here. Which is a surprise to me, to be honest. I will be honest, I'm quite surprised. I'm not finding what I'm wanting to look for. And I don't want to spend all night doing this, really. Those look like one-hit drum sounds. So yeah, I'm a bit annoyed. I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Let's close everything up. See if I can think where everything is here. Yeah, not very helpful, I'm afraid. I thought I had loads more than this, because I had actually got... I think I actually found something. Right-click on the loop, edit with Melodyne, bam. Well, yeah, that would definitely do it if you're wanting to find the key of something. I forgot what we're doing. Yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find some loops here to build something up with some loops. I'm just going through your chat as well. Or at least I'm trying to. Okay, yeah, so I'm not really finding the loops that I want, which is annoying because I know I actually have some. And I'm just not really finding the ones I want, unfortunately. Like, these are all drums. Oh, here we go. Let's try... Let's try this one. Kind of don't think it goes with what we've got so far. Yeah, not really sure it goes with what we've got so far. Let's see if there's anything else further down here. Let's try this one. Okay. Okay, that's a really imaginative bass part. I think my son could play that with his eyes closed. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, just as imaginative, just a different string. Yay! The bass playing is just stellar, isn't it? Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's try this one. We're lucking out tonight, aren't we, folks? We tried that one. That's ballad. We don't really want ballad. Let's see what else we got. What's this one? Yep, that's a great bass loop. Love that one. Come on, do something different than just thumping on that note. Come on, please. Okay, yeah. Okay. And we did that one already. And we did that one already. Yep, we have run out. There is nothing of any use here whatsoever, unfortunately, for bass. I wish there was. Okay. You know what? We can search. That's one thing I haven't done. And probably should have. Let's go search. Let's go funk for style. Instrument bass. And let's see what... here we go. Let's try this one. Try this one. Alright, that's not bad. Let's try this one. Yeah, I think I like this one better. Let's put this one in just for fun. Okay, let's duplicate that. Hooray, we finally got somewhere. Okay, now let's go for... Keep the style the same. Let's go for guitar. We'll get rid of bass. Let's see what we got here. And this is in B minor, this one. And that bass, what key was that bass in? Now, this is probably not going to sound great. Hang on. Because that's in C minor, that's in A minor. So we need to detune this a little bit. And this is where going into the inspector is really, really useful. And seeing as that's in A minor, we probably want to go up 1 to B flat, up to B, then up to C. Let's try that. Yeah, that works. And then we just duplicate that. All right, we're getting somewhere. Perfect, let's get rid of that. Now let's go and find keyboard in the same kind of style. And we'll see what this is. No. No. Okay, none of those are going to be any good. So let's get rid of that. And let's go for... That's all funky reggae. Oh, that's drums. Is it? Yeah, it is. Let's see. Piano. Funky organ. Okay, let's try this one. Yep, okay, let's try that one, because that is in the same key, kind of. And it's also using a present sound. Whoops. Let's give this a try. Okay, that's way loud. That's fine, we can turn this down. Yeah, that's not even the same key, that's too slow. Don't know why that is. Same key, same tempo. Yeah, that doesn't work. Let's get rid of that. Let's remove track and instrument. Bye-bye. Okay. Alright, so we've got our little funky rhythm section going on here. So we know the key already because our bass was in C minor. This guitar part was in A minor, and what we did was we went to the inspector and we transposed it up 3 steps, 3 half steps, and that brought it up into C minor. All right, so let's let's just do a little bit of balancing here because this is a little bit out of whack. Let's pull these down just a little bit. All right, so there we go. So we've got our little basic little rhythm section thing going on there. And I think that will kind of do it for this little demonstration. But you can add to this. You can add all sorts of things. So, you know, if you wanted to find another guitar thing, you could go back to guitar, get rid of the organ, and you could find something else. Let's say maybe this little funky wah thing that we rejected initially, because it's like way faster and it's also in the wrong key. But we could bring this in like that. And because it's in B minor and everything else is in C minor, we just nudge this up one step. And then duplicate it. And I think I'm clipping my my OBS. Sorry about that. And there you have it. There you've got a little funky little rhythm section. Then you can just use this search function. I should have done this to start with. Would have been a lot quicker. But yeah, you can use this search function for style, instrument, and then the kind of character that you want. And it's very, very powerful. It will find stuff that comes up, and then it gives you, you know, some cool things to try out. So I mean, you could have like a guitar solo on the top of this if you wanted. Yeah, why not? Just for fun. Just see where that goes. Oh, it's a bit long, but that's okay. And what key is that in? It doesn't actually say. Let's see if it fits. And there you go. And within a very short space of time, you've got something knocked together with some reasonable quality loops. And then if they're stereo files, then you can, you know, you can decide whether you want them mono or stereo, and you just bounce them. So, for example, these two guitar parts here, these are kind of stereo parts. But what you could do, I didn't do it here, but what you could do is you could bounce them to mono. And then you have a little bit more control over panning and stuff like that. So, piano helps. Yep, certainly does. Yeah, you can find the key that way. So where is the right click to transpose? Bob Studios asks. You can do it the way I showed you, which is by the inspector, and then just hit the transpose. Just nudge that up and down for however many steps you need to transpose it. So in the case of this little wah-wah guitar thing, this is in B minor, but we know because our bass is in C minor, and we want everything to match the bass part, because that's the first instrument that we brought in other than drums, that we only need to nudge this up by one. Now, you can right-click, and you can change it here. Could have done that, but you can also do it over in the inspector. So you can see here's the transpose here, and then if it's, even if maybe it's a tiny bit out of tune, you can tune it there as well. Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do there. And that should do it for you, really. That should make it nice and funky. But if funk's not your style, choose a different one. Rock, blues, country, classical, whatever you need, and then the kind of types of instruments that you want to find, and then just go through the list. A lot of them have a key written in them, like here, this one here, Jet Funk A minor, which is helpful. But the question here was, what if you don't know what the key is? You can use Melodyne to detect that for you. So you could just edit the event with Melodyne, and then you would see where the blobs are and how they relate to the piano kind of scale that's on Melodyne editor. You can do it that way, absolutely, for sure. You can do it that way. If you've got reasonable sense of pitch, you can do it by ear. Or if you've got another instrument that you know is in tune, like a keyboard instrument, you can find it that way. You can kind of listen to your loop and then try and find the notes on the keyboard, and then kind of make your, kind of do it that way, and until you find it match, and you go, okay, so this is in G minor. Great. Now I know that my rhythm guitar part is in G minor. Everything else needs to fit to that. And then it's a case of bringing in loops and transposing them until it fits, until it sounds good. Now, here's the interesting thing. Some of the hip-hop music of the mid to late 80s, they didn't really bother about whether things were in the same key or not. It didn't really bother people. They went for a vibe. Does it feel good? Does it have the right kind of groove? And that's what they went for. And then they would rap over the top of that. And so key didn't really bother them. So if you listen to some of that music, you'll find that there's like a rhythm guitar part that's in C minor. But there's this really funky bass line in G minor. And it kind of, they're not the same key, but they sound great together. They fit well together. Mostly because they're related keys, but that might have been totally by accident. They had no idea that they related well together. They just go, hey, this bass line sounds good. Hey, this guitar part sounds great. Let's bring them together. And so that's kind of what they did. So you can do this. You can do it this way. And it's pretty effective. Alrighty. So I hope that helps answer that question. Mika says it's like Survivor Island. Will the loops make the cut or be thrown off the island? Yes. So there you go. Let's see. The question was, how do you find the key if you don't know it? Yeah, absolutely. If you don't know the key, you can use Melodyne. So you can select the event and Control M to edit with Melodyne, and you can figure it out that way. Or you can use your ears. Or you can use a keyboard instrument to help you find that, especially if it's not written in the title of the loop. A lot of loop libraries, they will have what key it's in most of the time, because they know that a lot of people don't know how to find out the key. So a lot of the time, you'll find that it's there. Sometimes you'll find that it isn't, but a lot of the time it is. So a lot of times you shouldn't have this issue at all. So there you go. Mika says, go and buy Logic. Yeah, don't go and buy Logic. No, I'm only kidding. Buy whatever DAW is going to work for you and get the job done. I think that's the point. Just for the loops and samples alone, don't even use the DAW. There's just so much for you there, and it's utterly usable. If you have a Mac, then yes, you have absolutely got access to Logic and all of the loops and samples there. And they are pretty darn awesome. I will grant you that, for sure. If you are not a Mac person, you're not going to be able to do that. So that's only going to work for Mac users. If you're a PC guy like I am, yes, I do have a Mac sat over there on my desk over here. And I do have GarageBand on that. I don't have Logic, but I do have GarageBand, and there's some pretty good samples and loops and things in there. I suppose I could bounce those down and bring them into Studio One. No trouble. Could certainly do that if I wanted to. Ski Jump Toe says the guys know what sounded good. It wasn't an accident, or they just couldn't be bothered. Yeah, they knew exactly what sounded good. If you've got a reasonable ear for what sounds good, then most of the time you're going to get things to either be in related keys together, or or they're going to be in the same key. Even if they don't know what the key is, they will, they'll say, hey, this sounds in tune with this. And by and largely, if it's not in the same key, they're in related keys, and it works because of that. So, if you've got something in G minor, like a keyboard part in G minor doing, something cool, like, it's not going to matter too terribly much if you find a funky rhythm guitar part doing this. Kind of like a C minor to G minor. That's not going to be a problem. It's not going to clash. Because they're related to each other. So it works. And by and largely, most people's ear, if they can't actually identify by ear what key something's in, they can they can make relative decisions. So they bring something in and they go, hey, that sounds great. They bring something else in and they go, yeah, that sounds just as good. For the most part, they've made a decision because it sounds like it fits. And if it sounds like it fits, it's usually because it does. And that might be because it is in the same key, but it might also be because it's in a related key that fits. So, yeah. George Mateos says, how do you transpose in transposing audio by ear? How do you transpose in transposing audio by ear? I'm trying to think through that question. How do you transpose in transposing audio by ear? Well, I mean, I'm using Studio One to transpose the audio, but if the question is, how do I know how far to transpose something up? It's a matter of simple counting of intervals. So, going back to our nice little... Going over our nice little loop thing here, we found our initial rhythm guitar part, this guy here. This originally was in A minor, which definitely was not going to fit C minor, okay, because they're not related keys. So that was going to sound pretty awful. In fact, I can demonstrate that. Hang on, let me flip over to Studio One because you guys are not looking at it. So let me go back to that part there, and let's stick this back to 0. And we'll turn off solo and listen to this. Let's lose those guys. Yeah, it doesn't really work, does it? So, it sounds pretty awful, actually. So what I had to decide was, how far is A from C? Well, let's look at my keyboard. A, B flat, B, C. So up one more, and then up a third. So it's going to be up 3 semitones, or 3 half steps, to go from A to C. And it's simple, just counting. So... let's play that again. Yep, doesn't sound very good. Let's move it up by 1. No, that sounds worse. Let's move it up by 2. No, definitely no good. Okay, move it by 3. And there you have it. So there you go. That sounds absolutely perfect now. Now the chord changes between the guitar part and the bass don't 100% fit. I will grant you that, but they are in the same key, so it kind of, the vibe of it generally works. Which is why this little groove now works perfectly for what we want. And then the second guitar part was in B minor, so, well, B is just like one half step away, so you just nudge that one up by one in the inspector to transpose that, and there you have it. Everything now is in agreement, which is what you want. So I hope that answers your question about transposing by ear. Yeah, I hope that answers that question. Let's see. John Lake says your camera's looking good. Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Deer Creek says rhythm can override note choice much of the time. It certainly can. If it feels good, if it sounds good, it is good. And, you know, it doesn't really matter about anything else. To be honest, Duke Ellington, who wrote thousands of pieces of music in his very long and very illustrious career, including writing a suite for Her Majesty the Queen, which he wrote and recorded with his orchestra and gave the one and only copy to the Queen, which she has in her private collection, and nobody else has ever heard it. Only Her Majesty the Queen has heard it, because it was deliberately intended for her. But Duke Ellington said, if it sounds right, it is right. It doesn't matter about all the theory and all of that. You can analyze that to your heart's content. And that's great, because you've now found out, by doing that, you found out the why it sounds good. But the fact that it does sound good, and it does sound right, it is right. Even if the theory aspect of it says that it shouldn't be right, the fact that it sounds right, it is right. And so I agree with that. Whether that's rhythmic or melodic or harmonic even. Okay. Let's see. Mika says at some point Presonus will have to start producing professional samples and loops and 96K. No one, and I mean no one, uses 44.1 anymore. That's an interesting point. Make a feature request for that, please, Mika, over at answers.presonus.com. And you never know. You never know what will happen. But a lot of these loops were recorded a long time ago. A lot of these loop packages were made like 5 years ago, when 96K was just not a thing. Let's see. What else do we have? Ski Jump Toes says it all gets compressed to Spotify anyway. Yeah, it kind of does, I suppose. Ken says, if streaming sites use MP3 and that is below CD quality, why would I need 96 if CDs are 44.1? 44.1 and 48K are at the moment still the most used sample rates. So if you're recording at 96K, it is going to be downsampled to 44.1 or 48K. Like radios, I think, are 48K for the most part. So if you're wanting airplay and you're recording at 96 or above, it's going to be downsampled to 48K anyway. So this whole kind of sample rate thing, to me, personally, is a bit of a non-argument. If you want to record at a very, very high sample rate, then great. By all means, go ahead, do it. But, you know, there really is nothing wrong with recording at 44.1 or 48K, because a lot of musical output is recorded at that or is mass produced at that. So, you know, CDs, they're still a thing. They may not be for very much longer, but they are currently still a thing, and that's 44.1. And that's what most people listen to. Most people listen to that, or they listen to MP3s from Spotify or whatever device they listen to it on, and that's pretty much 44.1 anyway. So I don't think it really matters too terribly much. So I am going to side with everybody else on this particular point. Let's see. George says, thanks, Johnny. I hope personas will change from numbers to chords from Transpose Inspector. I don't think they will. And here's why. Because you're not just transposing chords. Chords is a very narrow window of what you would ever transpose musically. You have to think that there's a lot of musicians and a lot of songwriters and that are writing in a very, very wide style of musics, different forms, different instrumentation. So you're going to have some people that are working with orchestral sounds, and so they are transposing according to their particular instruments. So, for example, they might have a trombone part that's written for B-flat trombone, so that's going to be transposed up 2 half steps, which is a whole step, and so on and so forth. Alto sax being written up a major sixth and all of that. So there are lots of different requirements for transposing. So transposing is based on intervals. It always has been for pretty much all of Western music theory. So from, the end of the 17th century, so we're talking about the beginning of the 1700s, all the way up to the present day, is that transposing is done by intervals. It's done by steps. And it's all to do with semitones, because Western music is built upon 12-tone equal temperament, which is why we count things in semitones or whole tones or intervals of like major minor thirds, major sixths, minor sixths, major sevenths, minor sevenths. All of those intervals are all related to the interval of the smallest interval in equal temperament, which is the semitone. So, and as Studio One is based around a Western music theory structure, which it is, because it's built primarily for popular Western music, and that includes classical music, that includes jazz, that includes rock, blues, and all of everything else that goes in between those. Transposing is done by intervals, so that's why we have numbers instead. So the transposing thing in the Inspector is by numbers, and tuning is done by cents. So 100% is one whole semitone. So 100 cents, one whole semitone. And so tuning is to do with is adjusting the micro pitch of a particular sound, a particular instrument. And so that is why things are done by numbers and not by chords. So I don't think, George, that is necessarily going to happen. And besides which, we have the chord track, which gives you any chord options that you might need for your song. Let's see. George Warner's here. He says, how does one import multiple audio files into Studio One sequentially on one track rather than each grabbing their own track vertically? Okay, that's a very good question, and is a little bit trickier to sort out. Let's come out of that. Let's go back out of that. Let's see what else we can find. How do I close this down? There we go. So, if you're wanting to like have a whole bunch of guitar parts, you are at the moment going to have to drag them in one at a time if you want to line them up sequentially on one track rather than them populating different tracks. At the moment, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You're just going to have to literally bring one in, bring the next one in, and drop it behind it, bring the next one in, drop that behind it, bring the next one in, drop that behind it, bring the next one in, drop that behind it. You're going to have to do it that way at the moment, because if you grab like 10, 15 different samples or loops or events that are in your browser and you drag them in, they are going to populate 10 or 15 different audio tracks. So you can, if you just want to get them all in and then organize them, is just drag them all in so that they do populate different tracks, and then you just grab and drag until you've got them lined up how you want them. At the moment, I think, George, that is the only way to do it. If you would like that as a feature request, to be able to have the option to be able to drag them all onto a single track as opposed to populating 20 tracks, then definitely go to, like I said to Mika, go to answers.presonus.com and put in a feature request for that. That is the place to go and do that. But it is a very good question. Ski Jump says, do you visit many studios? They're all on 96K around here. Mika says 48K is the TV video and film standard. Yes, it is. And they just dither down. Yep, that's what happens. You dither down from 96K to whatever, to 48. That's what happens. Let's see what else we have going on here. In the chat, thought there might be a button I was missing, was needing to import audiobook chapters. Thanks. Yeah, I don't actually know whether you... I mean, you can try different modifier keys. You could try Alt, you can try Control, you can try Shift, you can try Command, whether you're Mac or PC, whichever system. You can try, dragging that way. I don't know whether that will work or not, to be honest, because, I don't really do audiobooks, to be honest. I would like to do audiobooks. One of the things I do is I do voiceover work quite a bit. I do some continuity announcing, and I do some jingles and things like that. But yeah, I don't do audiobooks. But that would be a great way to be able to do an audiobook. And you may even find that you can create a macro that does it in the macro toolbar. So that would definitely be one option to experiment with. Oh, there you go. And Photography Light Magic with the answer. If you press the Control key or Command key on a Mac and hold whilst you drop the loops, they all go onto one track. Bingo. There you go. There's your answer. Thank you very much for that. Bobsu says, dealer, check out Bobcats on the subject from years ago. Bobcats is awesome. He invented the case system for metering. He's written some extremely useful books that I very much recommend to a lot of people. What else do we have? Have I missed any other questions? I don't know that I have. I don't know that I have. But anyway, I'm staying with the subject of Wade, not smacking my mic. On the subject of loops, if you're looking for loops at higher sample rates, there are plenty of loop libraries out there. Lots of loop libraries out there that you can go and grab loops from. So, I mean, you can go to looploft.com and you can get a whole bunch there. I've got their Platinum Bundle for drums because I like drum loops. And I've got their Matt Chamberlain bundle as well because Matt Chamberlain is an awesome drummer. And yeah, definitely go and check those out. But there's bass loops there. Nathan East, I think, has done some bass loops for Loop Loft. There's saxophone loops. There's loads. There's trumpet loops. There's vocal loops. There's all sorts of loops there. And I think a lot of those are done in much higher sample rates. So you could definitely bring those into Studio One and use those. And as I say, they are much higher sample rates. But I mean, really, to be honest, places like Loop Loft, they specialize in creating loops. That's what they do. That's their business model. We have provided a small selection of loops to populate the browser of Studio One, so you've got something out of the box that you can just get straight to and get straight to making music if you want to. That's kind of why they're there. They are there so you can get straight into making music, and you don't have to worry about dithering this, dithering that, sample rate this, sample rate that. That's great when you get further down the line and you become more. You gain much more knowledge and you gain much more experience, and you kind of learn a lot more about higher sample rates and all of that. Then those are useful. When you have that knowledge, great. Go and access loop libraries that are done at much higher sample rates. Absolutely. I don't argue against such a thing. So there you go. Mika is out the door. He has to get going, and so do I in about 60 seconds or so. So if anyone's got a last minute question, let's see. Oh, Bob Studios asks, can one use 32-bit loops? 32-bit loops? What are these? Let's see what these are. I don't know. It's a good question. Well, these are all kind of music loops. They're not really. These are all 24-bit. But yeah, I suppose you probably could if you have access to them. I guess you could. These are all 24-bit 44.1 for the most part. So I'm pretty sure you could just go and grab any loop you like. And the cool thing is that even if they are at different bit rates, Studio One is smart enough to kind of sort them all out so that they're all the same. So yeah, you can certainly do that. Even if they're like much older loops, like from the old ACID library, if you remember those, the Sony ACID libraries from the early part of this century, like 2001, 2, 3, then yeah, you can certainly grab those. John Lake says, can you stamp my passport? I wish I could. Funny question, though. If you use a loop at a different sample rate, Studio One will ask if you want to convert it to the same as your song. That is correct. That is correct. If you bring in loops, if you bring in some loops that are at 48K, and then you bring in another bunch of loops that are at 96K, it will do all the dithering down for you. You just convert them down to the base sample rate that your song is set at. My base sample rate for my songs is always 44.1. I don't necessarily see why I need to set it any higher than that, because, yeah, okay, TV and film and radio and all of that are 48K. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't think the sample rate argument is necessarily a massive deal for most people, for most music makers. So yeah, that's my take on the story of samples and sample rates and making music with loops. I mean, it took us a wee while to get there, but I think we finally found something that sounds pretty good. And there you go. Sounds pretty good. All it needs is a splash of reverb, a little bit of EQ, and some compression, and job done. We've got ourselves 4 bars of glorious funk. So there you go. I hope that this has been a helpful show for everybody. Sorry it took us a wee bit of time getting the right kind of loops, but sometimes it can be like that. Sometimes you can spend a lot of time searching for your loops, and be prepared for that sometimes, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. Now, in this particular case, as soon as I pulled in this drum loop, it was a case of I wanted to try and find like a funky bass part that would go with it. I don't know why. It's probably because I've had a really, really long day. It just didn't occur to me, hey, use the search function. That's what it's there for. So yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend use the search function in the browser. It is awesome, and it is very, very powerful with all the tags. Everything is meta tagged. Anything that comes with Studio One, or you've purchased from shop.presonus.com, or you're a member of Presonisphere, and you've downloaded, I should say, all of those awesome loop libraries that you've got there in your account, they are all meta tagged. So if you want to find a particular synth, you go synth, you want to find a synth pad that's in B minor, then you just type in synth pad B minor, go, and it'll pull up a list of everything that has those meta tags, and then you can just bring in what you want. Should be quicker and easier than I did it for you guys. So there you go. I hope that has been helpful. We got somebody new in here right at the end of the show called Satyr. Hello. Good to see you. Welcome. Says, I switched back to Nuendo. I tried working on a movie scoring project. Too much bugs. It would be nice if you could maybe unpack that a little bit. Maybe on the next show, next week, if you come good and early when you can at 6 p.m. Central Time, then yeah, by all means unpack what you mean by too much bugs. I would certainly appreciate that, because, if you find stuff that are genuinely bugs, then I work for Presonus. I can forward those on and get those looked at pretty quickly. I can't guarantee that they'll be in the very next update for Studio One, but they will be there at some point, and all you need to do is just keep an eye out for your particular issue in the release notes. The Presonus software guys over in Hamburg, they are extremely good at getting issues fixed and resolved. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend that you do that. If you've got like a little list, if you're on Facebook, you can certainly by all means go to the Presonus Studio One Facebook group and make a post and say, hey, these are the kind of the issues I'm encountering. Give the folks there some steps to reproduce those issues. If we can't reproduce them, then it's going to be very, very hard for us to fix them, whether that's the guys over in Hamburg. They need to have steps to be able to reproduce it, so that if they can reproduce it, then they can get to the bottom of it and they can find where the issue lies exactly, and then they can go and address that issue. So we need kind of to go from broad, hey, there's bugs, to there's this specific issue, do this, 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 and this. And if you do this, this, and this in this particular order, you should be able to reproduce the issue. And if we can reproduce it, then we can forward it on to the software guys, and then they can see if they can reproduce it. And if they can reproduce it, then they'll fix it. That's how it works. So I understand that you had a deadline and you needed to get the work done. That's absolutely fine. You have to do what you have to do, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, if you kind of unpack those issues for us, we can look at addressing them. We can't just address too much bugs. That doesn't really mean a lot, unfortunately. But I know what you mean. Let's see. I think we're there. I think we're done. Santa says, I like Studio One. Hope for the future. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. By all means, report those issues to us. You can create a support ticket through your My Personas account. It's dead easy to do. Just just log into your Personas account, your my.personas.com account, and click on support. And from there, there's a button that says create a support ticket. You create that, you fill that out, give us as much details as you can. Go into the specifics. And give us steps to reproduce the issues that you're seeing. As I say, if we can reproduce them, then we can pass them on to the software guys in Hamburg. And if they can reproduce it, they will fix it. And you will see it in some future update. I can't say exactly which one, because I don't know. But if they fix it, it will make its way into a release at some point. Okay? So I hope that helps you. In the meantime, I'm going to call it a night there. Thanks a lot for coming out. And I will see you on Wednesday over on Jonny's channel for Songwriting Simplified. Don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but maybe we'll unpack this whole kind of writing a song with loops thing a little bit more. I'll talk to Jonny, see what he thinks about that. But in the meantime, good night, everybody. Where's my button? There it is. Good night.